on fire. It was free. We would take clothes, pants, and shirts, and we'd stuff them full of newspapers and put a paper bag and a hat on it, and we'd lay them out on 41st Street under those overhanging trees at night. We'd tie a rope around it, and when it looked like a body,
Cars come by.
and the cars would come by and stop, and we'd sit in the bushes and laugh and laugh. That was big fun.
Around
We flew kites there.
Oh, it was just an open field?
Open field. Nothing but open field and red ant beds.
From what I understand, that used to be the other 9 holes to Hancock Golf Course at some point in time. I could be wrong, though.
I think it was later, but when we lived here, it was a big open field. We would fly kites.
Okay.
And one time we got a kite so high that we would go, somebody went to the store and they kept buying more and more string, and it was so high, it was a box kite, you couldn't even see it. And we brought it home. There was a guy that would tie on string, and we'd let it out for the power lines, and let it out till it fell over the power line, and then we'd pull it back in and then switch to that string, and we brought that kite all the way home flying.
Wow.
That was quite a feat.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
We'd ride our bikes down that hill. Boy, you were gutsy. You couldn't, there's a real steep road on 41st that goes up to the...
Yeah.
Man, if you could power your bike, we didn't have gears. If you could power your bike up that hill and up that thing, you were quite a man. And you were really a man if you could take your wagon over there and try and run down 41st Street. Somebody'd go down and wait for there were no cars, and he'd yell, "Now!" And you'd come down that thing.
Oh, I bet that was a good
time. Oh, jeez. We had 3 ducks, and for some reason we named them Snap, Crackle, and Pop. And I don't know, I thought I invented it. Probably heard it on TV somewhere. But we used to take those ducks, and we'd take them down to the creek and throw them in. But the best part is there's still a rock bridge, arched bridge, just down there. Yeah. We used to take those ducks. Me and 2 other friends with a duck under our arms. We'd walk down there and we'd take those ducks and we'd stand on that bridge, and they dammed it up. It was like a lake, and we'd throw those ducks up in the air as far as a 10-year-old kid could throw a duck. And the ducks would go flap, 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 and they'd land on that water. And then they were so happy they'd splash and
in their
quack.
element.
And then we'd go home, and that evening the ducks would be home.
Yeah, that's great.
They always when I hear rain falling on like a tin roof, I can sleep like a baby.
Really?
Because I grew up, like I'm sure you did, listening to the rain fall on that roof back there.
Oh, yeah.
And when it would hail, it was even better. That tin roof. I think that's a genuine tin roof.
Oh, it is. It is. That's
and it would
probably
fall
the
on.
original one.
And then we never had air conditioning. We did when my dad added that on, but I was probably 12, 13 years old, and I grew up in that house with no air conditioning. And I've had people tell me, you can't live in Austin without an air conditioner, and I say, I did.
People did it.
We had an attic fan. Upstairs, right outside the bathroom, there's a little short hallway. Come out of the bathroom, and it runs right and left. You probably divided it in half.
Yeah.
No, I bet you have an
Are you
upstairs,
talking about the
downstairs.
upstairs or the downstairs? Upstairs, yeah.
There's a bathroom.
Right.
And then you come out into a hall, and there's a right, left, like a T hall.
Right.
There's an attic fan in that hallway. Is it still there?
There's a drop-down staircase there now.
Okay, that was a fan. It was a big.
Okay.
I thought it was big. It probably wasn't any wider than the hallway. And then there were vents in the front porch, and the fan pulled air up from the house and threw it out the front porch.
Okay.
And what we did, my mom would set up a sprinkler outside those windows right there. She'd run the sprinkler back and forth. And then the attic fan pulled air in from outside, so across your bed. So you had a constant breeze coming across you. And our bedrooms are over under the concrete porch that runs out of the upstairs kitchen, right by the driveway.
Okay.
And we would raise those windows up, and the attic fan would pull the air in on us.
Okay.
And we'd take our sheets and we'd tie them up into the blinds, make tents, and so that the air would puff it out. We'd lay in there. But you know, you just had to know how to live without an air conditioner.
Yeah.
Cars didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah, you got to figure out a way to get cool when it's 105 degrees outside.
Yeah, the joke was you ride around with your windows up so everybody would think you had air conditioning. My father and his father and my father's brothers, they built this house, and we didn't have air conditioning. So we grew up without air conditioning, and my grandson was sitting in my old classic car I have in my garage, and he asked if I had an air conditioner, and I pointed to the wing vents and said, "That's my air conditioner, we have 2 of them." Then I told him to roll the window up, and he looked at me, and I said, "Turn that crank." And he reached over and started to turn the knob. He's 5 years old, and he got this big grin on his face because he didn't know windows could go up that way. He was looking for a push button. Big post oak there. And that thing could drop leaves. My mother would make us get up and rake leaves on the weekends, and man, we'd like, oh no, please don't. by hand, all of it. And then we'd cart it down here. And I guess
Throw it in a
after a
mulch pile.
season of all that, my dad would burn them.
Yeah.
My mother told me, and I vaguely remember, that the second house up was Mr. Walden, and he was an old retired man. And she tells the story that I was going up the sidewalk with my wagon, and it was going squeak, 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 and he was out front, and he said, "Hey, Gene, come over here. Let's play gas station." And so I said, "Okay," and pulled the thing in, and he put it up on his workbench, and he oiled that wheel. And he said, "There you go," and put it back down, and I went on up the sidewalk without the squeak.
Funny you say that about the honeysuckle because it's still here. I don't know that it's in that exact same spot, but it actually, down here at these trees, at Chinaberry actually, I believe it grows up there in the springtime. You'll see it bloom, and there's a large pecan tree down by my mom's house. It grows all the way up, 40, 50 feet up there.
Well, I'll tell my dad, he's still living. He's 86 years old, and I'll tell him that honeysuckle he tried to kill is still here,
Yeah.
doing well.
Yeah, it's thriving.
And you know, to this day, when I smell honeysuckle, and I do in my house now in another state, and in the summer evenings I go out sometimes and I get a whiff of the honeysuckle, and I'm right here in this yard when I smell it. It's like, wow, what a smell. It's a childhood smell I'll never get over. We planted honeysuckle. There was a dog pen over there, and my dad planted honeysuckle around it. It had a wire fence around it. And he tried chemicals, he tried fire, he tried hacking, chopping, pulling. He couldn't get rid of that honeysuckle. And I live in another town now in another state, and I planted some honeysuckle, and he told me, "You're going to regret planting that. You never get rid of it." Well, we didn't have any money. We had to make our own fun and our own tools, and we made bows and arrows out of these little spindly.
gushers.
Yeah, and we'd make bows and arrows. All you needed was some heavy twine, and we made the arrows, and they were terrible. They didn't have feathers. I don't know what we did. But we would go out here and see how far we could shoot them. There's a big open area out there, and we'd shoot those things way up in the air and land, and gosh, it's probably not as big as I remember it. And then there's chinaberry trees around here.
Oh, yeah.
And a good slingshot and a chinaberry tree, you could hurt each other. Some of the wars involved chinaberries. That stung when it hit.
Fortunately, you can't see it from our perspective, but beyond these trees, there's a large property over here, another compound, if you will, and it was originally Commodore Perry's property. He's got his mansion. It's still there, actually. It's open to the public if you guys want to go take a look at it. But it's beautiful, and it's been a myriad of different things over the last 50 or 60 years, a bunch of different schools. You said it was a Catholic girls'
It was a
school.
Catholic girls' school, which was really kind of neat because we were just little kids, and I left here when I was 14. And when I was 14, we were just starting to figure out what a Catholic girls' school meant to a 14-year-old boy. But prior to that, they had tennis courts, and they'd make them come out and play tennis, I guess, one of their classes. And we'd sneak over there and peek in and watch the girls play tennis, and we'd giggle.
Yeah, I bet you
But
would.
that was about as far as we ever went. The creek is made of this, it's rocky bottom in places, and it's got this black muck, for want of a better word, and it stinks because it's deteriorating everything, leaves and... But right down here, I guess it flattens out. We used to play war games in here. Where we would.
And that field out there?
Well, it's right in here, too. And every kid back then's father came home from World War II with a helmet. And we would put these helmets on and dig foxholes, and then we would lob rocks and dirt clods and sometimes just rocks. Just lob them in at the other guy in his foxhole, and you'd be sitting in there and it'd go bonk and bounce off your helmet. If he was lucky, he'd hit you in the shoulder because you couldn't protect your shoulder. And we would have BB gun wars in here.
Yeah.
Real BB guns and shoot at each other. And we didn't wear eye goggles. And when they said you'll put your eye out, they meant it, although I don't remember anybody ever losing an eye.
No one was good enough shot.
We didn't aim for that. Remember, one of the corners was a hackberry tree. And he got that siding where they cut at a sawmill where you have a flat on one side and bark on the other. And I think they gave it away. And he went down probably and brought a load of it home, and he built a fort and then some hand steps and the second level on it. And we would go up top, and we only had one BB gun, and I don't remember playing a lot with it. But we would have wars in there, cowboys and Indians and army, and we threw rocks at each other. We were tough. We didn't lob them in, we threw them. We tried to hurt each other. I was telling somebody this weekend I'm down at like a high school. I went to UTEP, and they just...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Is that why you're here?
They just had the pleasure of
The
being
drubbing.
at the mercy of the Longhorns. But a lot of high school friends, and I was just telling last night that I grew up like Tom Sawyer, that I ran barefooted We had the run of a creek. Our instructions every day were be home before dark.
Yeah.
We never locked the house. We left, the keys were always in the car in the driveway. You never took the keys out of the car, you just left them there. That little red brick store at 41st and Duval, that little red brick building.
Oh, yeah.
It's a salon now.
That
Yeah.
was the grocery store.
Huh.
My mother ran a tab there, and I had a paper route, and we would stop there after throwing papers and buy Coke and a little bag of peanuts, spend all of our profit.
All right. How about that?
And I remember one day my dad was just telling this story a few weeks ago that he wanted to buy a car, and they never bought a new car. They wanted to get another car, a different car. And she told my dad, there's no way I can show up in a different car. He said, we owe that poor lady in there so much money that if we show up in a new car, she said, I can't do it. I can't do it, not till we pay her off. All those little handprints. And I said, well, I'll show you. And I went out and I said, that's me, and that's my brother, and that's my sister. My dad poured that. So I just telling Reed, we grew up in the exact same memories. I lay and listen to Rain on Tin Roofs to this day, and it's that roof, that garage, and pecan trees and
Fireflies,
birds.
honeysuckles.
Yeah, we
How
called them lightning
wonderful.
bugs.
So
Yeah, lightning bugs.
is it a little bit like you remember it?
It is. This was very wild down here. We didn't have the
Yeah,
grass down.
yeah. Well, I guess he told
I
you.
gave
My father, he lives in Fredericksburg about a third of the time. And he will be so happy to know that you love this house like he did.
Oh yeah.
And grew up in it, and it's so pretty.
Oh yeah.
We do.
Bring him on by.
Please do. We
I'll
would
do
be
that.
delighted, and I love hearing those stories of when you were a
Oh,
child.
I could go.
That's great. We've lived here for years now.
How many?
4, 5.
4. When they brought me home from Seton Hospital, this is where they brought me. The gate across here, chain link gate. And I was playing, I used to park the car right here, and I was playing here in the car and hit the emergency brake and rolled in there, and the gate stopped it. And this gate has a little bend in it. I guess I did that. But thank God it stopped it. This was a gate, and it looks like the original gate. I do remember dogs on top of the gate. We even had a Cocker Spaniel named Frisky. In fact, he's buried out there somewhere.
Is he?
Yeah, and I imagine those were picked because of Frisky, a black Cocker Spaniel.
That's great. I love it.
And those vents up there, that's where the attic fan blew the air right out of those vents. And it was
Still
hot.
there.
So
Still
when you
there.
walked up to the front door, if the attic fan was on, it was hot. Hot air would
Yeah.
greet you.
Blow right down on you.
But it sure was nice in the house. This is the kitchen.
Yeah. Kitchen right here.
Yeah.
Now, what did you guys use this space for right here, where these two windows are?
You know, originally, there was a staircase that joined the two, and it goes down and it turns to the right.
Okay.
And
Okay.
under the staircase was storage, and I remember figuring out there wasn't it's because there might be a kid around. There wasn't a Santa Claus because I found the presents under the
staircase.
stairs. And I remember telling my older brother, who probably already figured it out, but he wasn't going to let on. I said, "Hey man, there ain't a Santa Claus. Look, these are our presents." Now this one leaned. You could go up it, and then we would nail 2x4s there to go up. And I've been up there, but it was tough. It was tough coming back down.
Yeah.
But this tree, well, I don't know how tall I was, but this tree, I think, last time I went by, was up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if it went that far.
No, you're right, actually, because we used to have a pedestal that we put underneath it to kind of prop it up. And
Yeah.
we ultimately had to get rid of that.
Amazing.
Great.
Well, thanks. 610 East 42nd Street.